The Saints Row reboot was a colossal failure. At this point, we can all agree on it, and if you can't, I'm sorry, but you may just be a tad bit delusional. The Saints Row franchise, as sad as it is to say, is truly dead. However, some news came out recently, courtesy of Mr. Saints Godzilla, that says that maybe, just maybe, the Saints Row reboot wasn't always destined to suck, and that it might have been an actual sequel of sorts to the original franchise. It is no secret that Volition, the developers behind the Saints Row franchise, has closed their doors for good. A lot of people, including myself, believe that the release of the Saints Row reboot and its failure played a huge hand in Embracer's decision to shut the studio down. But maybe, in an alternate timeline, this wouldn't have happened. After all, the Saints Row reboot that we got was apparently vastly different from the one that was originally envisioned for the game. Mr. Godzilla uploaded a video a week ago talking about the future of the Saints Row franchise, and in that video he touched a bit about what went wrong with the reboot, which included the reboot straying away from what it was originally supposed to be, because the Saints Row reboot wasn't always going to be a full-on reboot, but instead a softcore one like we saw with Saints Row the Third. At this point, we're going to be talking a lot about Mr. Saints Godzilla's video, so I do want to add this little disclaimer. I don't usually watch his videos, it just really isn't my cup of tea. However, I have had people in my comment sections in previous Saints Row videos telling me that Mr. Saints Godzilla was simping for the reboot. This is of course secondhand information, I do not know if it is true or not, but just thought that this is some information you should know so you can get a feel for his biases around the subject. The Saints Row reboot was supposed to return the game to the roots of the franchise. The developers were supposed to follow a 20-80 rule, with 20% of the game being like Saints Row the Third and 80% being like Saints Row 2. Which, if I'm being honest, does sound like a very good rule to follow, because some people might not want to admit this, but Saints Row 3, it did have some good things about it. Along with this, we would have had the main cast returning, along with Aisha, and the game would have included a mission to actually kill Dex. Now, with this little bit of information, I do believe that this game would have taken place after Saints Row 2, but before Saints Row the Third, and for a couple of reasons. One of which is that we get to kill Dex, which is exactly what the Saints Row 2 DLC Corporate Warfare hinted that the sequel would be about. The second reason is that the reboot could have played off of Saints Row 4 endings, where the game goes back into time, which could explain why Aisha is back. Now, the information that is covered in Mr. Saints Godzilla's video is good. I did enjoy watching it, until he tried to pass the blame of Volition's failure onto Deep Silver, which kinda makes me believe that he was actually simping in one form or another for the reboot. The first claim he makes is involving a Twitter incident with the Saints Row page. It has to do with a tweet that the page put out responding to negative feedback, which is just simply a GIF saying, "Haters gonna hate." We all know that Deadly Steph was the one behind the account, but Mr. Saints Godzilla kinda tries to play this off by saying that it wasn't Volition's fault, but Deep Silver's, because Deep Silver was the one in charge of the account. Which, I gotta say, is a load of bullcrap. Yes, Deadly Steph was the community manager for Deep Silver. Deep Silver did have control over the account. However, Deep Silver and Volition, in a sense, are the exact same company. If you don't know, Deep Silver is the parent company of Volition, which is why Volition isn't called Volition anymore, but rather Deep Silver Volition. Now, if this was the case of Deep Silver just being a random publisher, then yeah, you can 100% pass the blame of these actions on them. And even though Mr. Saints Godzilla mentioned this in his video and was pretty much telling fans, "Look guys, it ain't Volition's fault," he also refused to mention the fact that the devs of this game, direct employees of Volition, were also attacking fans over on Twitter. And this apologist type of behavior that he is displaying near the end of this video makes it seem like he's trying to paint a different picture of what actually happened surrounding this reboot than what actually happened. Mr. Saints Godzilla also claims that the reason we never got the mixture between Saints Row 2 and 3 was because of Deep Silver, not Volition. Surprise, surprise. He claims that the reason why the Saints Row reboot sucked was because Volition's original idea for the reboot didn't match Deep Silver's vision, so they had to change it up. When it comes to changing things up in the development of a video game, it is a very common thing. When I was in college taking a video game development and design course, we learned a phrase used commonly in the video game industry, and that is, don't be afraid to kill your babies. Meaning that no matter how much you love something and want to put it in a game, sometimes you just need to scrap that idea. It isn't something that is very rare, it happens all the time. But with that being said, it still doesn't explain the story that we got. Sure, the original idea for the reboot, it does sound amazing, I am not going to lie. It is a huge shame that it got scrapped. But a decent writer still would have been able to craft a good story that didn't have the cast of the original Saints in it. We can also look at some of the other story stuff that happens in the game. Like the Saints having these kind of communism ideals with the idea that everyone should get paid the exact same, some of the cringy woke one-liners we hear in the game, and I can tell you for a fact right now, it wasn't Deep Silver's idea to put these little niche things in this game, because it's just something that a publisher wouldn't really care about because it is too small for them in the grander picture of things. But it would be something that a writer who thinks too highly of themselves, who thinks they are clever and follows a certain ideology would include in the game just to kind of prove a point because they think that is how the world should actually work. And to back the theory that it wasn't just Deep Silver's fault, look at the way some of the devs acted in interviews they gave before the game even came out. I covered a bit of these, but one theme always remained the same in all of these interviews, no matter who was getting interviewed. And it was always implied that the devs were making Saints Row Reboot a game that they would love. The later half of Mr. Saints Godzilla's video is just him trying to divert the blame from Volition, which I do find is a bit funny. Other developers have been in this exact same situation that Volition was allegedly in, where they would have to scrap their original idea for something else, and those games still came out pretty decent. We see that he glosses over the fact that it just wasn't the Saints Row Twitter page attacking the fans, or even the fact that the main problem with the reboot, aside from the bugs, was the writing. And I hate to break it to you, but the writer worked for the development studio, not the publisher. The fact of the matter is that Volition fucked up and it is on them. Now, to be fair, he does mention that some of these issues that the game faced was because of Volition, but most of the time, in the later half of the video, he's just trying to pass the blame off onto Deep Silver. But what do you guys think about all of this? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Mr. Saints Godzilla? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you can hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell, it would greatly help a fella out. Hope all you guys have an amazing, wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.